we just heard the decentralized finance panel, which focus very much on cryptocurrencies, decentralized finance, new ways of finance. I come from industry. I worked many years in different industry sector, energy, material science, nanotechnology. I was 10 years head of the Austrian located in Europe, Austrian Smart City Research Program. It was a quite large funding program for smart city technologies. This included new technologies for houses, new energy saving solutions, new planning of areas, new city development approaches. So there was on the one hand side building technology, on the other side technology, material science, and of course ICT, IT technologies linked to building. And then it's to explain how came I entered the door of blockchain, not through the money entrance, but through the technology entrance from the industry side. So I found we had in this research program the question in 2015, can governmental subsidies be used for blockchain technology? Because at that time in 2015-16, the only functioning blockchain was the Bitcoin blockchain, which led to the problem that Bitcoin had even a worse reputation those days than it has now, that it's only for criminals, only to buy drugs, to hide money laundering. But we decided by the time already to at least start some research projects, fund universities and research institutes and also companies to explore energy applications for smart cities. So that when we started in 2016 with the first energy blockchain solutions, peer-to-peer trading, how could that function? Ethereum came up with smart contract solutions. So that's how I got into this space. And I found it so wonderful. It was so amazing to see. For me, it was so clear a new type of internet will come. And as you have heard the guys maybe from the decentralized finance, how motivated they are, how confident they are that decentralized finance will come, will be the next big thing. For me, it is not only the finance side which will come, but also the technology application. We will see not only the money side of blockchain being applied, but we'll definitely see also that industries will adapt. What I do also is I do a lot of consultancy now since 3 years. I'm an independent consultant with a group of with several tech teams. We do consultancy to many industries, and it is kind of surprising in what kind of bubbles we live. Because now when these blockchain conference and when I listen to these experts, we live in this blockchain bubble, but there is the outside world. And maybe 99% of the population in India, in Europe, in Austria, the small country where I come from with only 9 million inhabitants, maybe only 2% really understand or have an idea what blockchain is. When talking about, so the adoption is still to come, but it can be compared with the internet. At the moment, things go very slow and underground and not so well known to the public. Just if Bitcoin hits a new all-time high, then you have some media coverage, but then then silence again. On the technology side, a lot of things are going on. A lot of things are happening. My topic today will focus not so much on Ethereum, but I will give also an overview on Ethereum 2, where it stands and how it will continue. Ethereum 2, to understand Ethereum 2, one must talk about Ethereum 1. Ethereum 1 is the blockchain founded by Vitalik Buterin, an amazing coder, amazing visionary, very young, which enabled that smart contracts could be used on the blockchain. So that whereas Bitcoin is just able to transfer funds from A to B, to address A to B, actually to speak in banking language, from one account to another account. Ethereum can also transfer funds from one account to another account, but in the meantime, so-called smart contracts, which are neither smart nor contracts, we know this, these are little commands or macros you would use. So if something happened, then transfer the funds is the easiest macro. If I buy this car, then funds are transferred to a certain account. That would be a very simple application of a smart contract. So Ethereum enables this smart contract system. With the Ethereum blockchain, the problem is linked that it uses a lot of energy to make that blockchain safe. Same applies to Bitcoin, as they use the consensus mechanism, a special kind of voting mechanism or cryptographic encrypting mechanism, which is which is called proof of work. So you have to do a lot of calculations, a lot of cryptographic calculations to encrypt and decrypt this every block of this blockchain. With the Ethereum 2, which will I cover in this speech a bit, the next level of blockchain is to be seen, which could be compared when we talk about the internet. First, we had the browser solutions, but when the internet came to the mobile phone, it was a new way of creating apps there. And this app creation is a new level where you have, and with Ethereum 2, we see this kind of new level now, and to have a faster and more, let's say, efficient use of a blockchain. This proof of stake includes so-called stakers, which are validators. And recently, since December 1st, this new staking mechanism started step by step to be implemented. This staking mechanism is not going to happen all in once. As you can imagine, it would be like building a new car out of old parts. Yeah. So the problem is you have a car which is already running, and then you build the new car out of a running car. It may never stop. And that's the problem with Ethereum. On Ethereum, thousands and thousands of actual implemented smart contracts and applications are running already. You cannot just say, no, let's stop it and let's make out of this old one a new one. The problem is the car is running, and during this process, this car is renewed by still running. So you have to renew the engine somehow, but the car must be running, and the wheels, and so step by step, this shift may go on. So that's in complexity, it is, I would say, more complex than just renewing a car which is on the road. The complexity is that a lot of value is involved, and as Ethereum has a long and very famous history of being hacked. Yeah, one hack, they lost more than 100 million US dollars. This is the experience we had in the past, and they want to avoid by any means this to happen again. But shifting blockchain, Ethereum 1 on the next level, Ethereum 2, it involves a lot of, let's say, risks. The risk of being hacked can be manifold through validators, through the blockchain itself, through mistakes, through failures in the new code, and that has to be done very carefully. One of the concern of the core team of Ethereum is, of course, always that new updates could bring new possibilities for hacks. So they are very careful in updating the problem. And there are regular meetings, by the way, they are online. You can find them on YouTube there, or you can share, you can listen to their regular meetings. So it's quite transparent. It's not like a company like Microsoft and Google. You wouldn't find that meeting online. That's, by the way, also another difference. With Ethereum 2, we will have stakers involved, as I mentioned. And so far, we have a lot of enough stakers boarded. It was necessary that they hold some. What is staking? Staking means that you put a bunch of money on that blockchain, you lock it in. It's like you put some money on the bank account and then it's blocked there for a while. And that gives some security for the ones who use you as a staker, that you don't cheat. The minimum amount of money to be involved is 10,000 US dollar. And these 10,000 US dollars are linked in form of Ether on the blockchain. And we have first experience, and that's what we have first experience, how do you make sure stakers do not cheat, do not validate blocks which they should not do, or they just don't do the job properly. What we see that they are sometimes thrown out, they are slashed out. Yes, it's how it's called. What happens is, if, for instance, there are many, if you have a key phrase, a passcode for your validation program, and you are suspected you cheat, this could happen in the way that you have your validation code on 2 different servers at the same time. That is not allowed according to the rules. And then you will be thrown out of the, and you lose at the end your 10,000 US dollar. This mechanism is on the one hand side very useful to avoid hackers, to avoid cheating. On the other hand side, it creates the problem that sometimes in the beginning, the system doesn't work so smoothly. And we have reports already in Europe from some stakers that they were thrown out unlawful, or they just could not explain, or I just forgot that I had to turn on one server. So there is no, for instance, overlapping period which would allow some stakers to correct the mistakes. But the system is very, very strict. To my opinion, too strict, and we have to find solutions that stakers also are treated in a fair way. But we shall never forget that stakers are very important, and they must, of course, validate blocks in a correct way. So that's very, very important, and we see that it will be a long way till this system will work. What is the advantage? Why do we shift from browser application to apps, from Ethereum 1 proof of work to proof of stake? First, the main problem is, as we heard in the decentralized finance panel, DeFi panel, heard that there will be a lot of decentralized finance going on the Ethereum blockchain in future and other blockchains. The first is speed. Speed in blockchain technology is calculated in transactions per second, or TPS. The problem is that Ethereum can only handle 10 to 15 transactions per second, maybe more. Yeah, some say more, some say less. It depends on the network situation, but that's way not enough to cover the world. Just a simple calculation. I'm in a room now in an office, my home office here. It's a large building, and what would happen if we use Ethereum for sensors, and we assume in one building 1,000 sensors, and in a city of, I don't know, Mumbai or Chennai, we have millions of inhabitants, and they're all in these smart buildings. And then there would be sensors which would transfer their data on Ethereum blockchain. And you can imagine that could happen even in one city, that the sensors would need more than 10 transactions per second. So that would the system would be immediately blocked, and the applications would not run. There would be combustion, of course. So the new blockchain, the new Ethereum, is when we have blockchain is one chain and with blocks. So it's a very simple way of We have blocks of data, it's encrypted, and then the next block, and then the next block, block after block. That's a chain of blocks. Mathematically speaking, this is completely dumb way of storing data. Why? Because this linear in one way it tells us already my room is so big, but I just can't have data stored in this way. Why not using another branch or another a network or the full room like we have the room here? In mathematics, the room is not only 3 dimensions, but it's n dimension. You can have in all n possibilities. You can use that room, and blockchain does not make use of that. With Ethereum, you can see that for the moment, it's still one chain. The new Ethereum, it will be 64 parallel chains, to keep it simple. Yeah, you see, it's a better way, and the transaction jump from different lines, parallel lines, 64 chains. Yeah. But that's just the beginning. You can also imagine how the future will be of blockchains. It will be much more complicated. And when I'm just speaking of one blockchain, Ethereum, there will be much more blockchains in the future. So this parallel enables that you can be faster. You can increase, and that's the idea is to increase at least to 100,000 transactions per second is what the objective is, and some say that's possible. Just to give you an example, the transaction speed of Visa card and MasterCard Visa card is estimated at 10,000 transactions per second. So that would mean that Ethereum is 10 times faster than Visa card. You see also the problem, and my example from industry is that this would be fine for financial applications. 100,000 transactions is a lot, and we can imagine that in future, maybe in 2-3 years, there will be even faster solutions possible. But for industry and covering cities and data for industry application, still 100,000 transactions per second is not enough. I'm an electrical engineer. In the energy business, 100,000 transactions per second. Just imagine if we have in one city, everybody's turning the light on at the same time at night, 6 o'clock, it's getting dark, you turn on the light. It would be one switch and everybody turns on the TV and turns on the stove. In future, this could be connected, and these electronic signals would be stored on the blockchain with sensors. And not only that, so 100,000 transactions per second is way not enough. So the Ethereum 2 is a nice solution on a way which we have in decades to still make blockchains more efficient. For industry applications, just imagine a big works with machines. I work a lot in the machinery building business. You have in seconds sometimes millions of transactions necessary for one factory, because you have combustion and then you cannot cope with the general big network. So of course, Ethereum 2 and the experience now we have, and that's what I have to speak about experience, is we are on a good way. The Ethereum 2 will still take maybe 1 or 2 years to fully be implemented. We will see big problems with Ethereum 2. We will have, as we have with Ethereum 1, yeah. By the way, a little side note, Vitalik Buterin was in 2014 in Vienna at the Technical University, and a friend of mine met him those days. I wasn't there at the Technical University, and that's what he told me. Yeah, it was the time when Vitalik Buterin decided in Vienna to make to do a shift from proof of work to proof of stake. So there was a clear shift in the decision has been made in Vienna, it said. I'm not sure whether it's true, but at least it said so. Another point is, what would be future applications of Ethereum 2? I work a lot with industry. I had projects with retailers, large retailers. One had 25 billion turnover. We tried to find blockchain solutions for this big retailer. I worked with a road tolling company. They do road tolling, so the payment, automatic payment would be a solution. I worked in real estate. We tried to find solutions for, in real estate, the blockchain for real estate technology is, what's there in fashion now is building information modeling. It's a type of digital twin for buildings. And there, it's still not implemented. It's a very static model of buildings, but it should be more dynamic in future. So you can have predictive maintenance, and you can have data collected from modern buildings, which are equipped with special sensors. So this new modern way of making the buildings more digital and more controllable, they have not yet entered the blockchain space, but that would be an opportunity. I worked with energy companies, and we tried to have this peer-to-peer energy trading in place. Also, lots of, we calculated that for a city, you need at least 64 million transactions per second. You see, with Ethereum, we stand at 100,000 at the moment. So 64 million for an average energy system is the benchmark. So that's what we have, still a long way to go. What I see is that, and that was also discussed, is that blockchain, and my vision is that Ethereum blockchain with this new staking mechanism is getting closer to the central bank digital currency, or CBDC it's called, central bank digital currencies. Why? Central bank digital currencies are very much discussed now, and there is kind of race of nations, India also amongst them, and European Central Bank, the Central Bank of China, the Fed, they are all working on different solutions of so-called programmable money. That will be the future, that making money programmable. And that's the question would be in future, whether these digital currencies use blockchain or not. There are three types of digital currencies, actually. There's a digital currency which is just not using blockchain at all. There is a digital currency issued by a state, and there is a digital currency issued by a company or by an entity, like the Ether of Ethereum is not a state-run currency, but a currency run by a decentralized entity. It could be also run by a company. So these different types will all, they can use blockchain or not. It's still possible to do without blockchain. Blockchain makes it more secure, and if it's decentralized like Bitcoin and Ethereum, it makes it less controllable for a state. So when we see, on the one hand side, these central bank currencies will be very much controlled by the state and will give more power to the national banks, because now the national banks, central banks, are very much rely on banks, on classical commercial banks. This could shift from commercial banks again back to the central banks, more power, and use this power could be used to make money programmable. China has the lead in that race. I would say they are 3 to 5 years ahead with their applications. They have already test cases in Shenzhen, in Shanghai, and also in other cities with digital yuan on the mobile phone, where you can transfer in a digital way your money. At the moment, we have also on our phone maybe digital banking, but that's not what I'm talking about. There's still a bank behind that. Whereas the central bank digital currency, it's not linked to a bank, a commercial bank anymore, but it is linked to only to the central bank, which could lead to the problem that in future, when such central banks are in place, money in place, that we would of course have this problem, a geopolitical problem and concern, that one nation would dominate. That's why the race is. If you buy something on Alibaba now in India or in Europe, you could be obliged to use digital yuan to pay, because that would be the means of payment. It will not come so fast. Or you could use the digital US dollar, or the digital rupee, or the digital euro. So we will have a race, and it's imbalanced at the moment as China has the lead. I think there's a lot of research going on, and that on the parallel side, you have on Ethereum this race going on, and Ethereum will also be improve, and other blockchains will improve in order to have this money linked to companies or decentralized systems. With Facebook trying hard to enter this this money field, it makes very much sense, of course, to have the largest messenger service of the world issuing a money, because the difference of sending an email, sending a WhatsApp message, or sending a message in the Facebook Messenger saying hello, or saying 100, and I transfer 100 from point A to point B, from person A to person B, that makes very much sense for Facebook and other messenger services. Facebook has been tried in Europe to start in Switzerland, to be specific, with the Libra Foundation, but they failed so far to implement it. There were many companies on board, up to 100 they wanted to have, but some withdrew, like Visa and MasterCard. They were in the beginning on board with that system, but then regulators realized that it could endanger the monetary system. Maybe in Europe, it could not endanger the euro as such, or it would not endanger the rupee in the long run, but smaller economies with a weak currency could come under pressure. Just imagine if 2.4 billion active users of Facebook, and their application, Instagram and WhatsApp, would use that money. It could deprive some weaker nations, economically weaker nations, or vulnerable nations, of their control of the monetary system. It could shift completely to that currency. And by the way, as the US dollar is in this weaker countries still a means of payment for larger contracts. Larger contracts are sometimes expressed in Europe in US dollar. Also, the United States could lose some power. So there is, on the one hand side, the United States do not like that idea, and other large nations, but also very small nations could come under pressure. That's why these privately run currencies will have difficulties in the mid and long run, midterm. But central bank cryptocurrencies, they could be very, very attractive for businesses, as we could see new ways of making money programmable. You could link different features. Just imagine if you have the Indian rupee, and you would be able to program this smart contract, as I told in the beginning, that you have the rupee paid to someone when a car is transferred, or a house is transferred, or when you buy your, I don't know, food, your dal or whatever, your wonderful Indian food. And once you pay, you receive the food, and directly this is paid. And that goes via blockchain, and no bank is involved. You just directly deal with the money of the central bank and your account in the mobile phone. So you have a mobile phone account, and they are rupee. That's why also cryptocurrencies in the long run will be a competitor to this central bank digital currency. That's what I see. So there will be both. Coming back to the Ethereum 2 and its applications while being faster. I see that, for instance, for the car industry, for mobility services, blockchain will play a more important role. We see now, for instance, in Austria, we have an application, it's called eLoop. They already have a blockchain-based system, electric car rental and car sharing system, and it's put on blockchain. Very few cars, very small, but still an application which is working, which runs on blockchain, and is an example of how this could work. Another company, Riddle and Code, is one of the European best coding company for blockchain. They built for Daimler Chrysler, automotive car giant, they built a car wallet. It is a wallet mounted in a car linked to their electronic system, and which has the ability to pay for services. So you come with the car, park somewhere, and the fee is paid automatically by the car, by the wallet, which is not in your phone anymore. Yeah, the wallet or account, yeah, is not in your phone anymore, but it's in the car itself, that the car pays. And the car drives on the highway, and the road tolling is paid automatically. And the car goes to the repair service, and this fee could also be paid by the account linked to the car, by the wallet, the so-called car wallet. Daimler Benz car wallet, you can Google that. And this sounds very nice, but it's a very important. And then we see, often we have the problem, why would I use blockchain? I can use conventional databases or conventional computer systems, which are working fine. Blockchain is here interesting because what if you have an autonomous car, no driver, no mobile phone inside anymore, then it is clear one needs a wallet in the car. You need a solution in the car itself that can pay. And here, blockchain is the solution. Here we see that blockchain makes sense. At the moment, autonomous driving is not in place, but I work with industry, and for instance, in factories, on airports, on very structured land, where it's very clear to drive on an industrial area, we have these automatic guided vehicles, which are kind of trucks without drivers, the small ones, or forklift cars. So these cars already are in use, and they will come more and more in the next 2 to 5 years. And it's the beginning of autonomous driving. Highways could be used there. Here, blockchain is an important part of that system. And we will find other systems where blockchain will be very important stone in that wall, a brick in that wall. It will be very necessary, that solution, because the adoption is so slow at the moment, because we have the Indian rupee, we have the European euro, we have the US dollar in place and money to pay, and the system works. But for some new applications, we will see that we will have to have new solutions, and blockchain is a very safe encrypted solution, a very safe opportunity. What I also see is that when we speak about companies, and India has a lot of companies like IT companies and machine building and industry, and Europe has, and the US has, other countries have. So these companies still do very conventional business. But we will see more and more with Industry 4.0, the new automated and digitalized factories with less workers in the factory. I often walk through car manufacturer factories where maybe 10 to 15 years ago, there would be thousands of workers inside the factory. I see now 25. The rest is done by robots, by automated machines with AI-assisted predictive maintenance, AI-assisted machine learning-assisted quality measurement systems, and so on, which a person cannot anymore deliver. It's done by robots. And these automated factories could be managed in the future also by automated companies. We will see that companies will use less and less staff. I would just, my very personal question, I do accountancy, my invoice and so on. This could be perfectly done in the internet by a service which does my accountancy, my tax report. We will see that maybe in the future, not like Ethereum, which is a decentralized software which handles smart contracts and nobody manages, the system managed by itself, autonomous. It's a so-called distributed autonomous organization. And we will see more and more companies, and the new competitors of companies will not be the company next door or the companies over the border in another country, but it will be companies on the internet. That's completely overseen. Nobody fears that, but that will come. We will have accountants will not have the job anymore, because this will be done in the future by through the internet, automized. Maybe some tax advisors will lose their job because that will be done in the internet, through the internet, especially when regulators decide to simplify the tax system. For these companies to pay them a cryptocurrency is very important. It needs also a transfer from my account, maybe on the wallet, on my mobile phone or my computer, to their account. And this money on that account is not linked to a person, but it's to kind of a new legal entity, which is called distributed autonomous or decentralized autonomous organization. An organization which belongs to itself, which is paid by itself. Just take the car. A car could be a distributed autonomous organization. A DAO, yeah, a car could be, once you build the car, and it brings me to the very beginning, yeah, the car which repairs itself on the way it's driving. The car is autonomous in a way that when you hire it, you pay to the car on that wallet. When the car needs repair, it goes automized to the workshop and makes sure that it's repaired. It goes to fueling or electric charging. It pays automatically. And maybe some interest. We have new business model in place with new devices. Just imagine not cars, but I've worked with machinery building. A CNC big machine production machine is autonomous, does the things by itself, and is considered like a company. It's similar to a company. This could lead to a new way of economy, and their blockchain is an important factor, and it will be needed. And companies could decide to make it step by step, their parts autonomous, in order to learn how this works, in order to offer services to make things more autonomous. In recent years, in the past, in 2000, we learned that internet, yeah, when the internet started, it was all corrupted, and it was cybercrime was a big fear, and we could never imagine that we will order our clothes and food via the internet. Now we just do it. It's so evident. In the future, I think with blockchains being faster, like Ethereum 2, we will have also more these autonomous companies in place, and they will be, now maybe it sounds crazy that we will have that, but I'm very confident we will have such solutions, especially when they are linked with AI, a more clever mechanism. AI is still very stupid at the moment. Maybe the chess computer can beat me, but they, at the same time, this chess computer cannot repair a car or cannot read the newspaper properly at the moment, especially when it's in Chinese or in. But this will be improved over the time, so these autonomous systems will be more common. Experience with Ethereum 2. It's just started 12 days ago. So we have 12 days of a new Ethereum 2 in place, which brings me back to my topic. So we are at the super, very early beginning of a new era of blockchain, which will be, of course, very important. What I see that Ethereum 2 could be very helpful for central bank digital currencies, which will be fueling also these distributed autonomous companies or organizations. So you see, this is just an important part of a larger system. What I would think, I would like to stop here and also ask, maybe we have some questions already that you feel free to ask. I did not go into details how energy blockchain works, as like mobility in detail. We could do that, as I worked a lot in that application field. Also machine-to-machine communication, that's in fashion now. It's very important application. Melvin, are there some questions already?
No, we don't have.
Yeah, no problem. I will continue. What I would say, is, where will Europe lead? Wherever Europe lead, first of all, I would also be a bit critical about the blockchain bubble a bit, and take care. I recently had I work in Austria and in Germany. I have a company here and in Germany. We look a lot at the different projects, a different blockchain projects, especially ICOs, initial coin offerings. These are coins offered by usually companies. That's this special type of digital currency I mentioned already, with the intention to make it decentralized in the long run. These ICOs, which started in 2016-17 and skyrocketed and helped that Bitcoin also became more popular and Ethereum, 95%, and that's a careful estimation, yeah, of the project dead. We had the first Austrian ICO in the field of gaming, HeroCoin. I found it really convincing because gaming is a lot linked to coins to earn some points, and that point could be expressed into a digital coin and finally a digital money. So it would make a lot of sense, and they had lots of users. But they had to file bankruptcy recently. The so-called HeroCoin, first Austrian ICO, filed for bankruptcy. A pity. It was a good project, but obviously it's hard to say why. But obviously this market is still in a very early stage. We had a mobility application. It went bankrupt. We had a application for wine. Austria is famous for wine. So it was called grape wine, to make certificates on blockchain for wine. Bankrupt. We had an application, was the ATS token, the old Austrian shilling ATS application, with excellent Ethereum coders, really super experts in blockchain coding. But it didn't take off. They couldn't manage to continue it. They still there, their code, but they do other things. They pivoted their business model. So what I see is that decentralized finance, for instance, is maybe the next step after the ICOs, but I would be very careful, as we heard in the last panel, that decentralized finance is the next big thing. It was said, I'm in this sphere since 2015, in 2017, with all these ICOs up and coming, they all died. They are dead. And the reason was that finally, as an entrepreneur, the most important thing, what is that? To issue invoices, to earn something, to really earn for what you do, to provide a service, and then you get money back. And these ICOs failed. They were just collecting monies, like like startups in receiving investors' money, and then they built something, but it turned out nobody's willing to pay for the service. So the investor side was very willing. I see with decentralized finance, similar situation now. There was a hype maybe some 6 months ago on this decentralized finance, but now this hype is over. Some of it's kind of second wave, yeah, to speak with Corona. The second wave is now after ICO is the decentralized finance, and maybe we'll see a third wave and a fourth wave. But in general, we must be careful, because this application, the decentralized finance, is maybe important for some specific cases. The most important thing is that we continue to improve the technology for the industry, for applications for trading, for e-commerce, for maybe applications in health, yeah, for whatever databases for corona applications and other diseases, for genetic databases, for patents, yeah, for encrypting patents and making them more accessible, tradable, and so on. So what we see is in the future, we will see more tokens to be in place, more tokens just linked to goods. You see the bookshelf at my back, yeah, that's really old-fashioned. But in terms, we will have this. We will have physical objects in the future more linked and digitalized. Every physical object, like my mobile phone, will have an IP address, and with having that, we'll have a new way of addressing physical objects. So the main point is to link physical objects to token, and thus we'll have different blockchains, and there are maybe around 50,000 blockchains around, and maybe 25,000 or 20,000 active blockchains, which link token to a certain physical asset, especially in real estates, where it's very important and the value is high of the physical objects, and the tokenization makes sense. And these tokens are at the moment linked to a specific blockchain. So what we have and is in place, there will be between blockchains and between currencies a better exchange. Now it's not possible in a very efficient way to transfer from Bitcoin to Ethereum, whereas we have atomic swap, as it's called, in place, but still on a very, very weak level. It's just if you put a car running on a highway on a train railway lines, it's possible, but it doesn't look good. Yeah, it's not still. So we must make the blockchains and the tokens more flexible and must design the cars in a way that they can shift to different, maybe railway lines or metro lines, or the railway, the trains, more possible to be put on the streets and be more flexible and adaptable and interchangeable. That these different infrastructures, which can completely be compared to the mobility infrastructures, can be interchanged. Yeah, so that will be the next step. With Ethereum 2.0, we will have another Ethereum being more flexible, but a lot of research. And when I speak about the, for instance, Kerala School of Blockchains, they have a lot of researchers. They do a lot of training of people. We need projects where this atomic swap between blockchains and token being more flexible, or token which have a backpack, another token, the token of a token, which mixing of token. And so you see this science, there is a science behind, by the way, and we have in Vienna since 2018, we have in place an institute. It's called the Institute of Cryptoeconomics. It's a science behind the tokenization of the world, linking physical objects to a token. These tokens will be more clever in the future, and maybe these tokens will be more can be more like a virus, clever in itself. Yeah, very tricky. At the moment, tokens are still designed in a very simple way. Maybe we'll have this science of tokens. Yeah, the token science. The cryptoeconomics is looks at the economic view, but maybe we have to also have design new tokens. There are different types of token. You maybe know that a driving license is a token. It's linked to me as a person. Yeah, nobody else can use a driving license. Whereas an entrance ticket to the zoo is not personalized. Maybe it says adult or child. So either this type of A adult or type B child can go to that zoo and watch these beautiful animals. So that's also two different types of token. But token in future could be also linked to sensors in the house, to applications. It could be much more flexible, and the token could change in a way on the way they're transmitted. The one blockchain who make tokens more flexible is the EOS blockchain, for instance. I have 5 minutes left. I want to also not only talk about Ethereum blockchain in the way that how can we improve blockchain, but when you're interested in that technology, have a look at applications, startups who serve the blockchain. Let me give you an example. A blockchain is a database which is considered to be very safe. So you can store values, like money, very safely, so that we can trust that it's transferred safely without any hacks, without any stealing from point A to point B. Very nice. We can also store on that blockchain different token and information. So that would make it very clear that we store on that valuable blockchain something which we put in, which we put on that blockchain. The question is, what kind of data quality are we able to put on blockchain? We could, of course, use the weather data, and but as we know from data, they can be corrupted. There can be fake news. With this fake news, you can create, let's say, a news platform would use blockchain and encrypt their news. It could say that a certain companies will file bankruptcy or it's weak, and then the share market will go down. It influences. Data can influence the real world. And this data and information must be checked. One project I like for this is Chainlink. Chain, like the blockchain, Chain.link. They have a system of validating data which are put on blockchain. Because when you put data on blockchain, you have always the so-called third-party problem. The data may be very safe and transferred, but who makes sure that the data are validated and proper data? And Chainlink is one of these, and there are others, of course. Yeah, they're competitors, but Chainlink is the largest project, ranked number 7 or 8 in total cryptocurrencies. This Chainlink has a system of voting and validators of quality of data in milliseconds. Very important. For instance, data for banks, share values, which are transferred worldwide. These values must be very, very safe and clear. Weather data of bets, sport bets, yeah, when you bet on a certain, there's a lot of fraud going on in bets, so the government tries to control. It could be interesting to governments. 5 Korean banks showed interest in Chainlink, and Japanese banks, so there is an interest in this data validation. With Chainlink, as an example, just to give you an idea, that we'll have different other projects which will serve the blockchain. It could be the UX, yeah, the user experience, which is improved. It could be the exchanges, yeah, like Binance, Coinbase, and so on. In Europe, by the way, one of the largest is Bitpanda, located in Austria. It's a huge cryptocurrency exchange. They offer banking services or limited similar services like banking. These companies, this industry is up and coming. And there are lots of new jobs created. So I talked about the factories and that there will be more jobs lost. On the other hand side, we will have a lot new jobs. When my daughter was 10, yeah, she wanted to be a social media manager and an influencer, yeah, an influencer. She that was her dream. But she was 10 years old by the time. But when she was born, there was no social media. It was around in the 2003, 2004. Yeah, there was no social media at all. So we have now jobs at the moment. We don't know. We can talk about jobs, but we have no idea what jobs in 10 years will be there. There will be new jobs we could never have imagined. Like my daughter wanted to be social media manager, but at the days of her birth, there was no social media. So there is a lot of hope, a lot of future in this blockchain industry. And it's still, let's not forget, we are in a bubble. We are very small. And I appreciate that there are around 48 participants in this Zoom talk. And you see, it's a small core group, but I'm very happy that they are listening, because that's the way we should distribute. I'm very grateful and thankful of Kerala School of Blockchain to Blockchain Association, Kerala Blockchain Association, to talk about this topic, because it matters in Europe, in the US, in China, in India, in many countries, as this will come, that's for sure. Maybe Corona will also come, but it will not affect us so much. Blockchain will stay forever, that's for sure. We will have this blockchain technology, and it will make so many useful applications, especially when linked to robotic, to new ways of driving, autonomous driving, to new applications in AI. Blockchain is an important part in this big picture. It cannot be seen only isolated. Ethereum 2 is an important step forward, and I'm very happy that they did it, Ethereum did it. Having said that, I would say that I have spoken enough already. I've said enough. Yeah, where can you find me? You can find me on cryptorobbie.blog, crypto like crypto with C, and Robbie with an Y at the end, cryptorobbie.blog. And I'm very happy to have contributed to this wonderful blockchain conference. And I wish all the Indian participants good luck and a wonderful evening. Here in Europe, we have now lunchtime. And thank you very much.